Okay, cameras are rolling.
All right.
How's it going?
Okay. I'm still kind of in a rough spot.
Yeah? You
I just
sick?
can't. Well, I can't tell if it's. Well, I know it's partially my hormones right now
Mm-hmm.
because I'm about 7 weeks, and I'm mad at my husband like every other minute.
Poor guy.
I know it's awful. I know.
Can you tell that you're just can you tell it's you or is it
Yeah, I can. Not at the moment, and then like immediately after I explode, then I'm like, oh fudge, come on. I
Aww.
know it sucks, and then I feel like I can't breathe, and I'm not quite sure if that's from pregnant or if it's survival mode
Oh, I see what you're
happening.
saying. Like, is there panic? Are you like, well, you'd know.
Yeah,
The survival
last
stuff you would know.
yeah, that's how I feel, but I kind of feel like ever since okay, there it is there. Ever since I found out I was pregnant, I feel like I can't breathe. There it is.
There, okay.
Anxiety. And then last night
I would feel that way
up.
too.
Yeah. Last night I had a dream that I was climbing a bridge and that I started to realize that I was really high up, and I woke up in a horrible panic attack. Like I had to run out of the house and get air.
Yeah, that panic comes from I can't handle it. Right? Can't
Yeah.
handle it.
Yes, that's exactly it. And then I was trying to go into, why I'm feeling that way. And then after our last conversation about the moralizing of weight, like the overweight, and I just realized that I'm doing that with everything,
Like
everything.
There's a right way and everything else is wrong. There's only
Yes.
Yeah, that is called.
And then I can't live up to any of it, so I'm just like, I feel like poop on the bottom of a shoe right now.
Like continuous failure. Continuous failure.
Yes.
Continuous inadequacy. Continuous you're a loser. Yeah, and so you're having like continue. No wonder you're exploding at your husband. It would feel like continuous failure. And this is actually really important to recovery with everybody, right? Because if you really look at the core of the situation here, wouldn't you agree that is it? This is what we're just describing. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Is that feeling I always have of being a total and complete failure and then the threat that creates is like a feeling of, it's like a withdrawal. It's like an irritable agitation, like skin, like you're clutching at trying to fix it, and the more you do.
Yes.
So, what you just said is so true. Like I have these moralized expectations that and I had said, oh, it's what's right. Everything, you have a right way, and then if it's not done that right way, there's something wrong. Your husband did it wrong. Everybody does it wrong because there's only, that is defined by it's called a way. It's a state of duality, which is survival. That's a survival state. You're looking for right and wrong, and doing things right is like saying I'm doing well and I'm succeeding. Anything else is bad, wrong, different. It's, and then the morality behind it is like saying that right way is the only way and it's a superior way. So that's the narcissism and the superiority of it.
Yeah.
And then fearing inferiority. I mean, again, this is like the heart and the core of this issue.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're seeing it elsewhere too, not just with body image. It's in so many different areas of programming. The thing is that who told you which way was right?
I know. See, that's the thing. Remember last time I had told you that my dad, when I was little, he would make fun of people, and then I had wanted to say that ever since we first started, but I was afraid that I was pointing blame, so I held it off. And I wish I would have said it before, because then all this could have exploded out,
Yeah, well, you
But
needed to recognize that just because you're recognizing the source doesn't mean you're blaming, because at some point you said, I believe it and it is true. So it became yours. So whether you heard it from your dad, a church, a boyfriend, a childhood friend, your mother, your aunt, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Truly. And you could say, well, of course that's what I would do as a kid. Any child would do that. And in fact, your father had done it. That's a program. Your father didn't make that program that he was shaming people. Right?
Yeah. Right.
Whose fault is it? Because we could look at him and go, well, he was programmed. He didn't create those criticisms. Where did he get those criticisms? Yeah, well, from his religious upbringing, or maybe his parents were, came from another country and they tried to maintain, proving themselves by holding themselves to really high standards to prove that they were wanted here in this country. Who knows the story behind it all, right?
Right.
So does it, the blame ultimately is the moment that you said, I want that. And you were a child when you did that. So, is it really blameworthy, or is it just innocence? Innocent child thinking, and how easily programmable a child is, especially with their parents.
Yeah, that's what I was realizing this morning too when I was going through the list of stuff that I can't do. And I was like, each one of those things, that I've been trying to strive for, it's understandable, because I believe that I need to do that in order to be a valuable person, or, not be a piece of shit.
Yeah, you attach the symbolism of success to it. And so if I had the same symbolism of success attached to that, I'd do the same thing too.
Yeah.
Right? The difference is, the success I no longer attach to something outside of myself. Right? So that's really where the issue is. Is it the desire for success that's the problem, or is it what you've attached it to?
I don't know. What was that one again?
Is it the desire for success that is the problem, or is it what you've attached success to that is the problem?
Oh, yeah, it's what I've attached it to. Yeah. Then it makes it like all or nothing, kind of.
Totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, now it's in it, and it's attached to something outside of yourself, whether it is attached to a physicality of the body, a condition of the body, or it's outside of you in achieving something that is a set of standards that, again, is outside of reality. It's not within you. It's outside. You have to meet a standard that's outside of your reality. You have to change who you are or become something better than who you are to achieve it. You have to acquire consumable goods. You have to have a nicer house, a better car. You have to have everything in order. Everything has to be done a certain way. Those are all things that are outside of yourself. Those are conditions in the environment, right? You could say, if you're not intrinsically good with your internal conditions, that it would make sense that you would then try to find a sense of betterment or control with your life on the outside.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Mm-hmm. My source of internal chaos came from the fact that I was failing my religious belief system. So it wasn't a material problem. It was like a spiritual chaos that I was dealing with. Right?
Yeah.
So again, it's still, even though it's, it is still outside of yourself. It is a religious system that I am failing at. See how confusing that could be for someone who's internalized that? Because you believe that you are sucky from within.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's not from within. It's actually from the dogma on the outside that I just believed in.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, is when you internalize a belief system, it feels like it's who you are. Because
That's exactly how it feels. Like it's real and like it's just,
it's
I
true.
can't unstick it.
Right? It's like we need to have an exorcism.
Yes.
Demons
Yes.
be gone.
Yep.
Yeah, but how do you do that when you choose it?
Right.
That's the hardest part, is how do I get rid of the desire to be thin when that's what I want? I want it. I have a wanting of it. Well, whatever it is. Whether it's the wantingness to be with God. I have a want to be with God. Well, what's the means to the end?
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't question their means to the end, or why they would be fixating on that end, especially when that end is outside of themselves or outside of reality or is not even within reach, So even your standards that you're looking at, that you're saying, well, I have all these moral standards of what I think people should be like, what they should believe, how they should act, how the system should work. I have all this superiority in what I think is right. And I'm right because I believe those right things. So I'm a right person. Sounds like politics, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Puke. Anyway.
No kidding. Yep.
So you're stuck with continuously trying to prove those things. Creates all this bias. And a lot, right? And when things don't work so well, what happens to how you feel about yourself? It creates cognitive dissonance, because your reality is proving to some degree your belief system's wrong. But if you hold those systems righteous, superior, doctrine, sacred, non-questionable truths, then you're not necessarily going to recognize the dissonance stemming from the fallacy of your belief, but you'll blame it on your reality that's not capable of, or not hitting the mark. So in other words, you're feeling like shit about yourself because reality isn't what you want it to be. You're wanting what you want is the problem.
Yeah.
But that's what you have to question. And oftentimes we don't want to question those things because it would shake the core of our identity as the right person, right? I want to be right. I want to be on the right.
Yeah, I think that's what's happened now too. Now that I've, I don't feel like I ever want to diet again, or that I can. I feel like I can't. And then I go into something else instead of being free from it. I still feel like crap inside. So then I go into like the way my house is kept, or if my kids are, perfect, or,
Your husband, does he say the right thing? Did he say it wrong to you?
Oh my gosh, poor guy. He can't say anything right.
Right. Because you're holding him responsible for your internal sense of suckiness. So we need to address that internal feeling of suckiness.
Yeah.
What does it feel like?
I can't even explain it. Just like physical pain in my heart. Does that make sense?
Sure. Just describe it.
It feels like hopeless.
Okay.
And
feels hopeless. Can you describe that?
Like I can't. I don't know how to explain it. I just can't be right or okay or.
Does it feel like you're being shunned?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, like if I make any mistake, then I'm just gonna be
excluded.
Yeah, and I've actually, excluded myself by, just totally isolating, and I really don't have.
That's understandable though, because in the isolation, you think that that's going to give you an environment to better yourself, so that you can prove that you're not that I can do it. I can be a part of this popular group.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hopelessness feels like imagine that you are being shut out of a group of people you want to be in with.
Yeah.
Being shut out. Is that the feeling?
Yes.
And it might feel physically, that might be where that pain in the heart comes from, is because it feels like you can't breathe, or that you're going to be in outer darkness, an abyss.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That feeling, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, it's amazing, it's like taking cocaine, to 1, which is negative. Can you see it's probably negative 10?
Yeah.
Why you would do what you do to get to a 0 point, like on a 10 plus 10 minus scale, that is a negative 10. Can you see why you isolate yourself in hope? In hopes, because the only reason why you do that is in hopes to get to a 0, just plus 10 from negative 10.
Yep.
Because then you're just acceptable. You're just acceptable. I'm acceptable. It's not even beneficial. It's just acceptability.
Yep.
So what?
So I can survive.
Right, just a 0 point. That's what I remember too. It's like, I'm doing all of this work just for neutrality. I don't even win the gold medal. It's Olympic level effort for 0.
Yep.
To not be negative. It's chasing out of negativity. That's all you're doing, is running from negativity. You don't even get anything positive out of all that goddamn effort, which is super enslaved. It's like horrible slavery. Can you see then why you would be so picky? Picky.
What do you mean?
Perfectionistic. Picky at your husband. I'm going to be picky.
Oh, God. Yeah, now I can see. Yeah.
Because you are trying to manage Olympics level performance. Everything has to be...
No wonder I'm exhausted.
Right?
Oh, my God. I'm like, is this baby going to kill me? And it's not the baby.
It's reverse. Yeah. Just to be acceptable. Just to feel like you are acceptable. Just acceptable. So if this is what it takes just to be acceptable, this is what it takes. Look at the effort and energy and honestly, if this is how you are going to relate to your husband this way, and that should seem like, well, no kidding, I relate to him that way, because this is the performance level I'm holding myself to. So of course I'm going to be picky and short-tempered with him, and he has got to do it right, and he better know what I need when I need it. Because now he's my slave because I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if that's what it takes just to be on the good side, do you really want that good side?
Oh, God.
No, really soak what I just asked you. I really need you to go into this. This is an important question you need to feel from within. Not me asking you. You need to ask it to yourself. If this is what it takes just to be right, do you want to be right?
No.
Me neither. This is when I realized, if this is what it takes just to be seen as neutral, if that is what God expects of me, I'd rather be in hell. I don't want that heaven, because that heaven is full of hell. To get to heaven, I have to be in hell. Don't want that heaven ever. Don't want it. I don't want a relationship with that type of God.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to follow this bullshit. To me, it was cruel. I saw the cruelty in it. That's what I'm hoping you can see this. This is cruel. There's cruelty in this. Just so to say you're right. I'm right. Really? Is this right what you're doing? If this is what it takes to be right, is this something you want to promote?
Oh my God, no.
I know, right? Do you really want to promote what you're believing in if this is what it takes to be right? Right? Do you see where, for me, it went down to my relationship with God? I mean, it was like, do I want to go to heaven, that God's heaven? Do I want that God's heaven? If this is what it requires, a life of shame, self-hatred, fear, do I really want a relationship with that God?
No.
I said no as well. So I disconnected from that completely and decided I want a relationship with God that feels what's on the inside of me. Like that's I want to feel connected from the heart. That's from fear that comes out of a book.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, feels cruel that, it would be like I would be created as who I am and then not be adequate for God,
That's what I would rather reject that God. That's what I did. Come to find out that God was a mental concept that was taught.
Yeah.
But I thought it was real because I was a child.
Yeah.
I want to connect with a God that knows the essence of my heart, like that really understands my integrity, that I've never ever done something malicious on purpose, ever. Even down to the binging and purging I was doing, that was so destructive. That to me, I didn't know. It was so impulsive. I look at how destructive that relationship with my body was. It was terrible. And the willingness to commit suicide, it was like all of a sudden I felt compassion for people that do it. And it's like, and you know what? I want a relationship with God that has that type of compassion. What's amazing is that we've talked about this before, and it's like, oh, that's what that means. That's what grace is. Oh,
yeah.
It's such a different concept. Oh, it's not the way that it was taught. That was someone's perception of it coming from a probably mental illness.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyways, so I had to look at what my beliefs were because I was essentially completely dismantling these identities as a religion that had a name. I had to dismantle this concept of myself that I had created in my mind over years of programming that I wanted. It connected me to my family. It connected me to this church and to this community. But it came at such a high cost psychologically for me because it conflicted with my natural state of being, which is to be curious and to love everybody and not to divide, not to be like, they're wrong, we're right, we're number one, they're number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That state of duality.
Yeah.
I don't want a religion that promotes duality. I didn't know that at the time. I say that now. Right? I have the language for it now. I have context for it now 20 years later. But at the time, I knew I did not believe that if this is to be true, that this being that created me a piece of shit. That creator is a piece of shit. Not me.
And the dashes for it.
Yeah, exactly. And then be like, you suck. Well, that God needs to look at himself because he's the creator of this shittiness. anyways, this is kind of like we're looking at this from so many different levels. This is like it's like, what other areas of your life have you devoted yourself to these beliefs as if it is coming straight from God? Again, the perfect definition of dogma.
Yeah.
I call them those sacred beliefs that you are not to question.
Yeah. It's like everything that I've been going through all this week. Well, ever since, ever since a kid, being a little kid.
Well, yeah, and you can look at it and go, well, of course I latched onto these beliefs. That is the degree of seriousness and the degree of, that's how it was positioned. And wouldn't everybody believe that? Now, Now the only thing is that at some point, as you internalized that, don't you agree, if given the opportunity again, that you probably wouldn't internalize everything the way you did? You would, to some degree, separate yourself from your parents as separate people. You wouldn't combine your identity with them. So I think that might be something to think about. Did you combine your identity with them as if you are them?
Yeah,
I did too.
I have done that.
I did too, and that's what I did with religion, and that's what I did with my siblings, and that's what I did with anybody I came in contact with. I had to become them to feel connected.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's real pervasive. Like, you don't realize you're doing it, but you are overstepping a boundary, a spiritual boundary, into other people's spiritual boundaries. You don't realize you're doing it because it's not malicious.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely overstepping into their space of beingness to become what they are. And there are people out there that want you to do that. Those are the malignant narcissists. They love people worshiping them and becoming them. They thrive on that. They like the power, of taking everybody else's free will as if they own that will. Like, all these people, they are doing what I want them to do.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of like Hitler. It's kind of like other people in our current political system.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
I never thought about the parent thing that way.
Well, it should feel about right, and this is where you have to disconnect and say they have their own pathway, their own process. They had their own history, and by becoming them, I took on that history, and I don't even have context for that history. All I am is mentally ill.
Yeah.
With no context to explain it. You tell that to a therapist, and guess what they're going to do? Or a psychiatrist. You're about to get diagnosed.
Yeah.
Because there's no context for it. I'm just...
Right.
Oh, yeah, it's in your family. You have this genetically wired into you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's huge.
In this case, I don't think that's true for you. It could be true for some people. I don't think that's the case for this. This is a choice, right? Because you want that superiority. You want to be included as a supremacist of something.
Yeah, I can see that now. Ever since I was little, I always felt like I was just kind of, inadequate, like always. Ever since I was a little kid. And then I just started taking on other people's personalities and likes.
Me too.
When I would see them get, everything.
Yeah, because they must know they're better than me. They're not inferior. So how they talk, I want to talk like them. I'm gonna watch how they write. I want to do my cursive like they do it.
Yeah,
I did the same thing.
Their coloring books. I remember.
What's their favorite
even
color?
Doing the way I color.
Yeah, you lost yourself, and this is going to take independence. You need to become independent, spiritually independent. And so to do that, you have to come to your own sense of reality. You can't use someone else's reality anymore. And the thing about that is there's no rules for you to follow, and that can feel extremely vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's like being thrown out in the ocean. Okay, swim where you want to go.
Oh my God.
I decided that was way better. I'd rather just float on my back in the ocean and let it take me where it's going to take me. And that's what I'm still doing. I don't want to get on someone's boat. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Wow.
Constant fear of rejection, walking the plank, constant if you do it.
Yeah.
I'd rather just float on the ocean on my back without a ship. For free, independent.
Wow, that's really awesome.
It's called I now have my free agency. I'm living with my free agency. That's it. That's all I got. It's so much better and so much easier for me, for sure.
Yeah.
I do think some people need to be controlled. Some people emotionally and psychologically and spiritually are not evolved in any way, and they need someone to tell them not to commit suicide or not to commit murder and not to steal. They need rules to tell them what to do. They don't have any bearing of free will. They're not evolved enough.
Yeah, I know that that's not right for me because I feel it, I just feel like it's not right.
Well, it's because you're evolved more. You could not, I don't want to say it in a way that makes you think you're superior, but you could say,
No, yeah.
I have evolved beyond needing to be controlled. I no longer need someone to tell me what to do. I can't live this way anymore. It's stifling my growth.
Yeah.
At some point in your progress, you needed someone to tell you what to do. You literally had no sense of will.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. And now it's time for you to become independent. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you really want to and need to be superior? Not even superior. Do you really need to work this hard? Should anybody have to work this hard for neutrality? Is the things that you're failing at, is it really something to be ashamed of? Is it really a failure?
No.
Is it worthy of shame? You have to ask yourself that, and you have to undo it yourself. I can sit here and ask the question and make it sound like, oh, well, clearly the answer is no. You're going to have to go in and do it yourself with your own thoughts and your own heart and your own integrity. Yeah. I'm guiding it right now. I cannot do this for you. You have to do it. Do you see I've clearly guided you to this?
Yeah.
I'm manipulating the hell out of your brain.
Yeah, I realize that the only reason why a person should or could feel shame from those things is if if you're in that belief.
Yeah, and then you should feel shame.
That's what I can see now. Like, totally. Of course I feel like that, or of course I'm trying to do that if I feel like this is what God wants me to do. Yeah. Or
and there's no and there's no alternative. It's the right thing to do. It's the righteous thing to do. I felt the same way. Again, my biggest the biggest issue for me, and I'm using this as an example for you to kind of draw your own story from, was that premarital sex. To me, that was so pressured and feared. There was so much fear around it for years of indoctrination around that you're messing with babies, right? Creation, you're messing with creation, and that is one of the most detrimental sins you can commit. And because we told you, you are held to a higher standard. People that aren't told this, they get grace.
Wow.
Right? So because I was told and I was aware of this, now if I do it, and there was no reality in that rule at all.
Yeah.
There was no reality around why people have sex. They don't even talk about that. Well, because it feels good. Well, no, because you might feel the need to do it to be liked. When do they talk about that? No one talked about that. No one talked about, everything that goes into there's no reality in the rule. It's just the rule, right? So for me, it wasn't the actual sexual assault and the rape that was so traumatic. It was the guilt and the shame that was what caused the mental illness.
Yeah, from choosing it. Right?
That right there was when I went dark.
Yeah.
Bad.
I can say the same. When I was a teenager, I was promiscuous because I thought it was going to make people like me and boys like me.
Right.
And of course it did the opposite.
I know. You just became the easy girl.
Yeah.
I know.
And I grew up, I had a pastor for a grandpa on one side and then a religious upbringing on the other side where, no makeup, no music, all that kind of stuff. So
isolation.
Yeah.
From reality. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because the reality is full of sin.
Yeah. So then when I wanted to do all those other things, then that's exactly why I feel like I've been, oh my gosh, like I feel like I've been a bad person forever because I always wanted those things. I always wanted to wear lipstick and mascara and wear nice clothes and, and like boys. And
yeah, and all those things are bad. So do you see how distorted you've been? Like, is that really bad? Do you really want to be with a God that requires you live in total hostage isolation from reality? Where is the sin? Is it you or is it the concept that you should be removed from reality?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very clear to me, for whatever reason, in that out-of-body experience I had, it was like, ding! Oh my God. To expect a human being to be not human is a sin.
Yeah, what a struggle. Oh
that's wrong.
No wonder there's so many weird things happening in like different churches and cults and
yes.
Oh my God.
And you don't see it because it's it's meant and positioned to be the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You can't handle that. You should isolate yourself from it, but the isolation is separating you from reality.
I just need like a reset on the whole computer.
Right?
Put me back to factory setting.
It's called eject the disc of perfectionism. Again, all of my feelings in general of I suck, I'm inadequate, came from the standards I was being held to, not my reality.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have felt shitty about myself if I wasn't taught those things. Those were programs. Because I knew in my heart that I wasn't maliciously trying to hurt God by having sex that I was wired to want. Or that, is it really that huge of a sin when you just want to feel some sense of connectivity? I just want to feel that someone likes me. That was the truth of my decision, as I just wanted to feel that I was included or likable.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
Is that worthy of shame?
No.
Right? Don't you agree the belief is worthy of shame? Again, who deserves the shame here?
Yeah, the belief.
The belief of isolation.
Yep. I want so bad for my kids to not have to go through this.
Then you don't teach them these things.
Yeah.
You don't. I do not teach my kids what I was brought up to believe. Period. There are a lot of good qualities in just being but I don't think that the religion I was raised in owns kindness. You can't take proprietary, you can't take faith and make that proprietary information.
Yeah.
That's a human quality. You don't get it at church. You have it. But that industry thrives and makes money promoting the fact that you are a piece of shit.
Yes. Yep.
And we have the way for you to feel better. And, again, not everything in religion is this way. It's the zealots. It's the radicals that are this way.
Yeah, people trying to make something out of it that it's not.
So your survival. They promote it as your survival.
People.
Yeah.
Yep.
As your codependent relationship with God. Pretty sure God didn't want a codependent relationship with anybody.
Yeah.
You know, and the church is your rescuer. But here we are, we're talking about it, but this is like centuries of programming. We're talking thousands of years of programming. You know, and how are we to judge when some of this could actually be very primal to want, you know, in terms of surviving? And we can create survival with a religion. Is that better with survival around war? Even though religion is the foundation of most war on the planet in all of history. You know what I mean? Like how we reason around how we can getting along, you know, just get along. Oftentimes religion can be very positively influential in people's lives around getting along. So we would encourage that. It's getting along because you're superior than others is going to have a downside. Everything has an upside and a downside.
Yeah.
Even what I'm saying probably has a downside, right? Like if you judge people because they need religion, you know?
Yeah.
I don't feel that way. I have siblings that are still very much involved in the church I was raised in and the religion I was raised in, and I think they should do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It just was not good for me. It was not good for me. If I were to make a church around me, like what would be good for me, it would have just allowed me to be me. You know? I just needed to be me.
Yep.
It felt so good to me when I realized this, that I would never, if I had a choice, I would not choose this. If I had a choice, I didn't have a choice growing up. I was always told I had a choice, but I never really did.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you don't choose to be a part of that religion, you're basically going to be ostracized, shunned, kicked out. You are inferior. You're not wanted here, even though I'm your child, you know?
Yeah.
But the reality of it is when I married my husband and he's not in the religion, and in this religion it's a big deal, okay?
Yeah.
My parents loved him so much. And they still loved me. For whatever reason, they gave me grace. And I think it's because I had mental illness at the time. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It was not what I thought. Because when someone really loves you, they... You know, it's kind of like politics, too. My in-laws, so I was raised extremely religious Republican. Like, fundamental.
Oh, wow.
Religious zealotry. And I was raised to shame the Clintons and to be very judgy McJudger pants. And I think, and I never questioned that. I didn't question that for years. Until recently. Until the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Anyways, and so my in-laws are extremely radical Republicans. And it's getting worse.
Oh, no.
Like worse. as it is with a lot of them, right? It's like 30% about 30% are radicalizing to where they're losing their shit. They had lost touch with reality.
Oh, no.
Right? Well,
scary.
That's the way it is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
They've lost touch with reality, and so they shame reality as they distort their perception of it into something it's not. And so everything is looked at from a destructive position. But anyway, so I to them, in my moderate, you know, conservative on one side, I'm very liberal on another side, I feel like I'm very moderate. And to them, that is extremism.
Oh.
So they are literally having a ton of dissonance around me.
Oh, no.
I'm okay with it. To me, it was no different than me marrying my husband outside of religion. It's like, I've been through this before.
Yeah.
Because there is their relationship with me, and then there's the relationship they have with libtards.
Yeah.
Right? They have a relationship with me, but they also have this preconceived concept of what someone is if they are more liberal, which is a radicalized idea of what they are in opposition. You know, so they don't realize they're projecting their radicalism onto me, even though I'm extremely moderate.
Oh, wow.
To where they would call me a libtard.
Oh.
It's so funny to me. It's freaking hilarious every time I hear that language. And it's like, well, they can't see the difference. Like, here's reality, but here's the concept of what I think that is. And so they have these raging eyes of anger projecting onto me that has nothing to do with me. So this is, in essence, it's like to escape this kind of radicalism that you've been in. I'm not saying in politics or religion or any of it, but everything that you're holding yourself to that is better than reality. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to recognize that it's not okay anymore. That the shame that you carry is coming from radicalism.
Yeah.
Because you're normal. You're actually normal. Would you agree?
Yeah, deep down in there, yep.
You're normal. You're like, what makes you worthy of shame? Really? What is it? What is it about you that is so shameful?
Yeah, nothing really. If if I'm not judging myself by my little
radicalism,
rule book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Call it what it is.
Yeah.
You aren't held to radical standards. Are you really an idiot?
No.
Get my point? And I use that language for a reason.
That's idiot. I say that to myself probably 50 times a day.
Yeah. That is such, oh my God.
That's actually perfect. Wow. Yeah.
You know, I remember thinking about it, holding on to the feelings I had as a child, that innocence as a child. Is she an idiot? Is that not good enough?
Yeah. You know, one of the hardest parts is like when you're talking about your in-laws too, and how they're kind of being judgy.
Oh, it's on a whole other level, but yeah,
being like
ignorant,
super judgy and cruel,
ignorant radicalized
yeah,
ignorance. Yeah,
like how I've done that to people too with my beliefs, like.
Oh yeah, I did that when I was in full Republican mode too. That's just the way it works. You're going to be extreme.
Yeah, and then now
Both
when
sides.
I want to step away from any beliefs, like this is even the most ridiculous thing about, like, if there's hair on my toilet, I freak out. So if it's not perfectly clean, if everything's not perfectly clean, then I freak out. So that's even another religion for me. So
those are
when
ways
I judge
that you
people, if I go
in
ahead. Their house, I'm sorry, and then and then if I let that go, and then I'm still afraid of other people judging me for it. What the heck?
Hold on a second. You judge people for having hair on their toilet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. So can you see why, if you're that way, why you would be paranoid that others are doing it to you?
Yeah, exactly. And then I have a hard time, letting go, because
I want you to imagine that you're coming to my house. I'm going to have you over.
Okay.
And there's hair on my toilet. See the cognitive dissonance. This is how my in-laws feel when they're with me, right? But they have a preconceived idea of what that is, and they project it onto me.
I can see that too. Yeah, and it's not. It's not the truth of like how the person is or what. Oh my God, they're lazy and disgusting. Or,
and how do they even tolerate that? How can they even let that just be there?
Yeah,
it's funny. That's funny. Yeah, but how you?
But that's just an example of all the different things.
Well, yeah, and you can see that it's all the same. And if you're going to reincarnate, if we want to call it that, you kind of have to question: is that the way you want to approach life? Is that really is that the way you want to do it? Is that something you would want to make a big deal moving forward?
It's ridiculous.
In a moralized way, right? Of course, I clean the pee off the toilet if I see it. the shit splatters. I mean, let's get gross.
Yeah. I mean,
but is that really worthy of shaming someone?
no.
Right?
No.
So should everybody else be held to that standard?
No.
So what? Right? So what?
Yeah.
So you have to go through in some of these beliefs and you have to really reconcile them and undistort them. So it doesn't mean you don't have any standards at all and whatsoever, but you can undistort them to be lenient. So of course I clean my toilets and sinks and whatnot, but I'm lenient around it because I've got to be able to do it in reality. So I've got to live in my reality and I will make it work within that. But I'm not going to pause reality to make sure at all times that my toilets are perfectly clean every day, all the time. Because I don't want that to be my life. Right? Of course I want my house to be somewhat clean and picked up and organized, but I don't want that to run my life either direction. Same with the food thing. It's like, of course I don't want to binge. Of course I don't want to starve, but I also want to eat like a normal human being. And I don't want shame. I don't want any more shame around it, but I want to be able to, I don't want to overeat anymore. It's like, I don't want either of it. You know, so I'm not going to overeat, but I'm not going to starve either. So if that means I'm going to be overweight forever, I don't care. You know, you have to find that balance point in it.
Right.
And so you really are having to untwist, unwind.
My gosh, yep.
You know, one of the ways that I did it is I actually asked if with this suicide, because I was on the edge of suicide, and that's why I had to look at it so seriously, which is really all I'm trying to get you guys to do is listen to what I'm doing and take it serious.
Yeah.
The seriousness of the thought. If I were to die and reincarnate, is this something I would do again in my next life? The thing I'm willing to die for. Would I do it again next life? And the answer was, hell no.
Yeah.
Ever. So why be held to it in this life if I know consciously it is not good for my soul?
Yep.
So when you eliminate it, when I chose in this life not to be in that religion anymore, right? When I chose to let go of these things, I also accepted my family would abandon me. I would be kicked out, ostracized, shunned, excluded, and shut out. I actually went into it believing that was going to happen and accepting it because I knew that would be the lesser difficulties between suicide. Between that and suicide, that would be easier. And it would be to their betterment. They might not know it when they shun and disapprove of me and judge me, but this was the lesser of the pains that they would go through. They just didn't know the alternative was my death. So I actually did them a favor.
Yeah, wow.
You know, by leaving the church. That was so much easier. That was my little secret too. I was like, oh, you know, my mom doesn't know. She didn't know that the alternative was suicide. So if she's disappointed in me and feels like a failure, you know what? That's a pretty good alternative.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's huge.
So it gave me the freedom to just then accept what I really am and who I am in reality. The key is both in reality, who am I?
Yeah.
And it's not something I created. It's not something I conceptualized. It is what it is. Rainbows and unicorns. And happiness and frolicking. Whatever. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
That's me.
I want that so bad.
Well, you gotta think that that's okay, even if it's flawed to everybody around you. Everybody around you is gonna think it's a piece of shit, and you know what? You're the only one that can honor it and say, you know what? This is pretty good to me.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
And if you get the freedom, okay, if you are giving yourself freedom to be truthful about yourself and what you want out of life. And you get that freedom. Guess who else gets that freedom?
My poor husband.
Yeah, you knew it. I knew you knew it. That's who I was talking about.
Baby. I've been kind of strict with him too.
Oh, everybody gets that freedom. All of a sudden you want because it's so liberating, it's so intrinsically like gratifying and beautiful and loving that you feel it so intensely that you realize everybody should have this. It is magical and it requires nothing. Just honoring what's within. Why isn't that good enough? If that's not good enough, then what is?
Yeah.
What is? And if there is something else better than this, it's gonna require work. So don't complain about the work.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. My husband and I were talking about, he was talking about when he was a kid and how his dad bought him a bike, and he didn't think that it was good enough, so he wouldn't ride it around the neighborhood when he was a kid, and how somehow he knew, he felt like he knew that, some kids had it better and some kids had it this way, like lesser, like he was one of the lesser ones. And I was thinking about that, and that's the same kind of
mentality,
ideal, like mentality, yeah.
He basically punished himself and couldn't ride a bike because it wasn't good enough. Again, overreaching. That's that position of what I had in my mind is what I need.
Yeah.
And then there's reality that shows up. Well, what would you rather?
Yeah.
I'd rather have reality.
Exactly.
So I can enjoy it.
When I was looking at my little boy when he was saying that, and I was like, how are we going to teach him, to not have those kind of limits in his mind,
Well, you might want to work on all your limits.
So we don't pass them on.
Yeah, I mean, you can sit there and say, how are we going to get him to do that when you don't know how you're going to do it?
Exactly.
You have to have, how am I going to do it? Well, you have to accept reality. You are still avoiding reality because your reality is sucky in your mind.
Yeah.
So you have to really question, is this really sucky? And what am I holding it to that would promote this as being sucky? First world suckiness. What standards are you holding reality to? Basically, you're saying God sucks and you don't want what he's giving you.
Wow.
Because that's really, it's like saying this isn't good enough for me. It's like that same position.
Oh my gosh, that's like
playing God.
Ungratefulness.
But the asshole God. You're playing the asshole God.
Yeah. Ungrateful.
You suck.
A-hole.
You're pieces of shit, and I don't want it. So you're going to have to get better for me to forgive you and for me to want to be with you. You have to meet my higher standard.
Yeah.
That's, you see that, remember we were talking about, I don't want that God. I denounce that God. I don't want him.
Yeah.
You're talking about yourself.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Yeah, because that's not what he wants. He doesn't want me following a list of little rules to try and make myself right.
Because you're wrong and you're just not good enough.
Yeah.
So you have to question, is reality seriously not good enough if this is what it is? If this is the game I've been put into. If this is the game board, what am I going to sit back and wait to get a new game board?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is the bike that I've been granted. Is this good enough? The goal is that the answer is always yes.
Yes. Yep.
It is good enough. Because then you're living in the now. You're living presently. You're living in reality.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, if that's the case, what needs to be done here for you?
Stop believing all the bull.
Well, that's how you get there. So once you stop believing all the bull, if that's the case, what do you have to do now?
start living in my life.
You have nothing to do.
Like,
yeah, nothing
right
needs
now.
to be done.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
That's what I was heading towards. Is nothing. You don't need to do anything because everything is as is good enough. Because you're capable of adapting to all of it. You get a bike, I'll take it. The bike gets taken away, okay, I'll find something different.
Wow. Yep.
Constantly living in a state of abundance, and it's like relative, constantly changing to abundance. I'm good enough. Everything's good enough. And if it's not good enough, if I have the option of changing it, I will. And if I don't, I will accept it. Move on. It's just like you live in the now.
Yeah.
There's no mirage to be chased. And I think that's the feeling I'm getting is you're constantly chasing this mirage.
Yeah. Yes. Like the ideal of what I had expected life to be or how it's going to turn out when this happens. Yeah.
Yeah, well, what if that doesn't get any... You're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I can.
Then you have to deal with the beliefs around, well, if I accept what I have, is that settling? Am I quitting? You know?
Yeah.
Sure. And what do you get for quitting? What do you get?
What do I get? Freedom?
Yeah. I'm a quitter, and I'm so happy I did it. I am the best quitter on the planet right now. I quit.
Yeah.
I'll quit if I need to. Again. I just don't think there's anything wrong with quitting crap.
Yeah, exactly.
Quitting hell. So what? If it doesn't work for me, I shouldn't do it. If it doesn't work for them, if it does work for them, they should do it. I'm not telling everybody to quit. Just look at your suffering. Look at your suffering. How much more can you handle? How much longer do you want to do this? How much longer do you want to live this way?
Yeah.
Is this really is this really a superior way of living?
Oh my God.
Really? So really question that, because that's the belief that comes with that morality, is that this is a better way. Is it really? Let's tell the truth now.
No. Empty.
Right? So does that mean everybody else are they really idiots? They seem happier, don't they? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was trying to discern too. Like, are the ones who are doing all that, the exercise and workout, shakes and all that crap, are they really happier because of it? It's like, no, it's not because of it. It's like the high they're getting from the fake kind of.
Mm-hmm. The mirage. They think they're close to the mirage. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
If they were happy, they wouldn't work so hard.
Yeah.
So you can look at the work involved and go, well, if it was intrinsic, it wouldn't require all the slavery. If it was intrinsic, it also wouldn't be proselytized, and they would be more lenient. I guess the lenience in it. I do yoga. I walk my dogs.
Yeah.
I would weightlift, hopefully soon. Does that mean that I'm overreaching and working hard?
No, because you like that and you want it, and
it's intrinsic, but it's not part of my happiness. I'm happy without it too.
Yeah.
I don't have to have those things. They're just something that helps my body and it feels good, and you know what I'm saying. So I'm detached from it. It's here nor there, but I really enjoy it, so I'll have it here.
Yeah.
And if it changes, it will change, and I'm okay with that. So it's not something that I'm moralizing. There's a difference.
Yeah, I can see that for sure now too. How that moralizing thing, where
Yeah, so I wouldn't. So if it was something I moralize, I'd be promoting it. I'd be promoting myself with it. I would have put my picture on the front of the book.
Yeah.
You can look like me. I'm amazing.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. I appreciate the picture that you have on your book.
Oh my God, it's so funny. I'm so like old lady smart with my pearl earrings and my pearl necklace. That's what my editor told me to do, because she thought I looked too young.
Oh, wow.
She goes, you're talking to a bunch of doctors and medical people, and this can be in the
So you gotta appear
clinic.
to be.
You kind of need to look like you are a little more mature. I'm like, but what? I'm not very mature. What are you talking about? Anyways. All right, I gotta get going. I gotta pick my son up from school and whatnot. So,
Okay. I got your text earlier.